Alright, so here's the deal. This is Big Dig. I did add some of my own mods. I added Biomes of Plenty, Extra Biomes XL, Bibliocraft, and Mr. Crayfish's Furniture mod. But I started with the 1. I think it's 1.3.9 version of Big Dig. That the one that's still recommended. And it doesn't have Railcraft in it, but what it does have is something similar. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me get out of here. I didn't know these zombies busted down doors. It doesn't have something similar to Railcraft. What I'm getting at is Railcraft has those awesome iron tanks, and Railcraft is not in Big Dig, but there are some tanks that are similar, called dynamic tanks, right here. And the tank wall takes 4 steel ingot and a cobblestone, and that's it. So now this is where in the Big Dig world, at least, I don't know about others, that you can start using up lots and lots of coal. Look, I really honestly don't have much coal, and that's why, just to go off on a tangent real quick, that's why I was going to what was I going to say? That's why I was going to make an enchantment table because there's a mod in here that lets me choose the enchantment I want instead of it being random. And then I was going to put Silky, or Silky Touch, onto a pickaxe, which lets me harvest the block, the coal block. And I was going to do that because there's a grinder in here that will yield a 350% increase for coal, I think, and there's an increase for other ores as well, but coal, it gives the highest yield. Basically that's 3.5 coal for every coal block, but you can't get a coal block unless you use Silky or Silky Touch when you're harvesting, otherwise it will drop the straight coal. So that's why I was doing all that a bit ago. But that'll greatly increase my coal output. But until then, I'm going to make the dynamic tank parts we need. And this works very similar to iron tanks from Railcraft. Steel ingots. I don't know if it shows it in here. That's kind of funny. I was hoping to just show you, but I know how to make. We can use we need coal and iron, and I believe it's 4 coal for every, and this will make dust. Whoops, we need to put it in the center. So let's just say 1, 2. And that gives us our steel dust. Okay, we can do all 13. We'll get 13 steel dust. And then let's fire this in here. And that will give us our steel ingot, as you'll see, because we need 4 steel ingots, but that does yield 4 dynamic tank blocks. Now, as far as like the fine details between dynamic tanks and iron tanks, I don't know all the details, the specifics. But it works very similar, and supposedly some people have made some very large dynamic tanks. Very large. Let me go back to... Now I believe I believe we have to keep these within like the same chunk, or else it can cause some problems. But other than that, I think someone one time made a 15 by 15 by, what is it, 15 by 15 by 15, I think, tank. Now, I do know the capacity is different. Railcraft iron tanks hold, well, I'm going to say very roughly double what dynamic tanks hold of the same size tank. So if you have a 9x9x9 tank in both Railcraft and, or both iron tank and dynamic tank, I believe the Railcraft iron tank of 9x9x9 holds something like a little over 10,000 buckets, and I think the dynamic tank holds only a little over 4,000 buckets. But it's still an option if you don't have Railcraft, or if you're playing Big Dig. So it's basically these three parts right here, and to make the dynamic class is the same, just instead of cobblestone you use glass in the center. The dynamic valve takes a control circuit. The control circuits aren't really hard to make. You just need osmium ingots, which comes straight from osmium. Here's some osmium. Do I have osmium dust? I think I do somewhere. I thought I did. Let me see if I can double osmium just to make sure that, you know, so people are getting the most out of their material. But you can just find osmium, and it is semi-rare. Well, it's average as far. It's not as common as like iron, definitely, but it's not. Usually, I find it in like blocks of 4x4 chunks. But it can be more. You can find it in larger. And it's like I said, for the Big Dig ores, it's not as okay. You cannot do this. You cannot grind that. So you would just have to straight smelt it. And then what else you need is an enriched alloy, which really is not hard at all. You're just firing enriched iron, and enriched iron is 2 copper dust and a copper ingot to get 4 enriched iron, and then you're just firing the enriched iron to make the enriched alloy, and that's all you need. Then you put this. Then you'll have your circuit. Put it in there, and then put steel ingots around, and you've got your dynamic valve. Now, I don't know the specifics. I think you're probably doing good if you already know how iron tanks work. You probably are doing good to just work dynamic tanks in a similar manner. I don't know if the tanks can be connected. Like I said, they're very similar to iron tanks, but they're also not iron tanks, so there might be some little subtle specific differences in how they operate and in how you have to build them. But there you go. That's it for the making your dynamic tanks without Railcraft in a Big Dig or other Big Dig world. Now, I think dynamic tanks are. I thought they were Mine Factory reloaded, but I'm really not sure. I'm really not